Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm in Wainfleet St Mary's in Lincolnshire. This cottage is on the river steeping at Wainfleet St Mary's and in Lincolnshire, and I'll be showing you how to produce the water reflection as well. Well, hi there, welcome to my YouTube channel, and behind me is my studio. I'm actually going to paint indoors today. We've had quite a frost overnight, and Lincolnshire, I've made a little pencil sketch, so let's pop inside and see what we can do with it with watercolour. One thing I do like about this studio, I've got a bird feeder just out the window, and it's lovely to watch the birds feeding, particularly this time of year because it's very cold and they need food. And we have blue tits, great tits, and a wide variety really, goldfinches, charfinches. At the moment it's the blue tits that seem to be taking control of the feeders. Okay, well, I'm starting off with the large mop brush that I've got. It's the ProArt Series 45 pointed mop. And what I want to do with this one is to show sunlight coming in from the right hand side. So I'm not damping the paper, I'm going straight in with paint. I'm using cadmium lemon or lemon yellow, either one of those. Not really sure which one I've got there, but one of the other. And I'm going to put a little light red with that, just to give it an orange feel. And I'm coming in this side of the painting, a bit weaker than that. So over the trees, because I want to get that lovely warm glow from that right hand side. Putting in a little bit of red here and there. Now I'm going in with alizarin on its own. There we go. And this is the way in which I'm going to try and depict a bright funnel of light. And I'm going right the way down to the horizon, over the trees, everything. Round the building though, if you notice. Now as I head this way, I'm adding more alizarin. Go. Even more alizarin. And pulling that in, and even more alizarin in the distance there. Because I want that to glow a real bright colour. As I say, with watercolour you can always knock it back, but you can't make it brilliant once it's gone dead. Now I'm going to use ultramarine blue in the sky this side, because it was that sort of day, I think, you know, more sort of ultramarine sort of feel to it, and then just stroke it across and let it blend on its own. Just before it dries, I think I've caught that. And I'm putting a little bit in that horizon. Just a little bit of that blue right in the distance there of the sky. There you go. And that's really the main part of the picture. All I'm going to do now, I'm going to use this lemon and alizarin to create a bit of a sort of nice warm wash for these trees. That's where the trees will be, painting around the chimney as best as I can. And there's another tree there that's going to be light, very, very light. Painting around the chimneys and filling in around the building. Do this a lot now. Never used to, but that's pretty much the way I'm treating lots of my paintings, on a wet into wet fashion. And I'm even now, it's just beginning to dry, which is just nice, because I want to put a bit more lemon yellow into this tree. It's going to be very, very dark, but initially I want to be able to show off some really bright colours. Let's just pull that down. It was laying there a little bit dead. There we go. And that's the field in the distance. Okay. Then I'm going in with a weaker colour, because it's going to be very light here along the bank. That little passage there, that's going to be dark. Let's just leave that. And it's going to be a little bit lighter there in places. So I'm just using this colour to really start the picture off. And as you can see, it's given it a lovely glow. It starts that picture off. And now I'm using a little bit of alizarin to pull in, and that's gone, notice how it's gone orange now, because it's yellow with alizarin for that passage there, and the same for this one here. Perhaps a little bit more red in there, one or two little touches of red along the bank. There you go. Even touches of white is always useful. Clean the brush, remove some of the moisture, and just lift away any areas. Now I'm working at an angle. This is another thing that I'm doing these days. I'm working upright. I'm not working down onto a surface. So I've not got the board at like a 15-degree angle. I've got it perfectly upright. Well, not perfectly, it lays back a touch. But basically, that is the start of the picture, apart from painting in the reflection. And that's going to be alizarin. It's going to be Prussian blue with a little alizarin in there. So it's a touch of both. It gives us sort of like a rather grey colour. Purpley grey, I suppose. Like that. Now, going in with the yellow into that. I'm trying to pick up that area in the water. Now I'm going into the yellow. If it comes up slightly more dead in many ways, that is fine. And I'm just using a bit more blue. It might come up a touch green, which is really, so it's Prussian blue in there, really what I'm looking to do, because that is the water area. And if you lay on a colour like that to start, the likelihood is you probably will end up with a painting that doesn't need too much to do on the water area. So that's the completion of that first stage. Colour over the greenery and sky, but not over the building. Now I want to establish the trees in the sort of distance there. Well, not the far distance, because we're virtually finished with that. I'll establish the trees around the building. Hope that's dry. Will be time I get there. Right, first thing we do, we've got a lovely warm cadmium lemon. Now let's try cadmium yellow with the we'll go cobalt blue. Cadmium yellow, cobalt blue, quite a bit of cadmium yellow in this to start with. And we're going to paint the main tree to start, just using the point of the brush to get that jagged outside edge that I can actually see, which hangs like that. And of course these old trees hang down too. And we've got plenty of gaps at the top there. Don't forget the gaps. That's where the sunlit side is. So we've got the sun. Now we add more cobalt with a little raw sienna to thicken the green, like that, and then we stroke into it while it's still wet. And that is the start of the more shadowed areas that we can see on the centre and the left hand side. So then we've got the greenery overhanging there. I've not used any bright colours at this stage. Going around the chimney, a little bit close on that, so we may need to improve on that shortly. Down that edge, and then we go around that chimney there and down that side. There we go. And then of course we've got the underside, got the corner of that building there, and then the underside of where we can see some trunk work. So that more or less heads down there like that. Right, now we just need to go darker, so more blue, more cadmium, and I'm going to put a little light red with this. So it's light red, cadmium yellow, and a touch of quite a bit of cobalt blue actually, because the dark I don't want. Let's add a bit more blue, because I want a blue dark colour, and that then sneaks up. It's quite dark in this area, and I'm going around the chimneys again with this, down the roof line, round the corner like that, and keeping it nice. And while it's hopefully it's still damp, I can introduce some areas within that damp area at the top. Don't want to go right into the sunny area, because I want that sunlight to shine through into virtually all of it, apart from this back edge like that. I'm hoping that will be dark enough, but I just need a bit more punch, so I'm going more red, more blue, a bit more red this time, because I want that to show right that dark warm glow in amongst that tree work, just around the front of that building. There we go. And on the underside, a bit more blue again to give depth on the underside, a bit more depth on the front of the building. It's all about getting the right tone values, and this is why I created a little pencil sketch, because it's just knowing how dark and how light, and so that way it's bled into the front. Am I worried? I should be, but I'm not at this stage anyway. We'll worry about that later. And then we've got the overhang here like that, where those branches overhang with a little bit of shadow, but not too much. Now I'm going to use just a damp brush to remove that colour that's bled like that and like that. There we are, and that sharpened up that corner again. So if you do get a bit of bleed because one area is still damp, just lift it off before it dries. Now I'm going to go just around the chimney like that. That chimney has been painted over. I'm going to have to improve on that. But that's the fun of working with a bit large brush. You get a nice sort of unusual feel to the whole thing. Now into the mix I've gone with, just get the, okay, now into the mix I've put Prussian blue with cadmium yellow, but I want enough Prussian blue because this tree is standing at the back and it's one of those conifers that sort of like a quite dense, just a little dense area there, then it comes out and it sprays up in a sort of like an arc, and then it opens up again into leaving plenty of gaps. I know we've not got the sky there, but doesn't really make a big difference. Just leave plenty of gaps, and this area is going to be lighter, so I'm trying to pick up the shape of that as I paint. Now this tree now is of a different type, so I'm going to add more cadmium yellow to create a slightly different feel to this area here. Just going to remove some paint. That's it, more cadmium. There we go. So that blends with that. I don't want to go too light, but on the other hand I don't want to go too dark. And then we finish there, and that also shows the outside of that tree. So I'm just building up varying tones of the tree, really varying layers of colour, mainly tone, but of course colour is important when you come to paint these sort of passages, as it were. Right, next area will be, I'm cleaning the brush here, and the next area will be a bit more raw sienna here with cadmium yellow, a little bit of blue gone in, but that's for that one, a little bit of red, a little bit of alizarin, just to catch the side of that. And that's some sort of, I don't know whether that's a tree, shrub or whatever, but it's slightly lighter than the background, but it's still very, very warm. Then I go in again to an area of the palette that's got a blue in, a bluey green, and use that for the shadow work. And I come down as far as the next layer, which is there. There we go, and that can go actually go over the back a little. There we go. And then we go very light. It's quite a bluey green now, so it's a different type of green, that. So I'm starting off with cobalt blue and a little bit of the green that I'm into mixing, really. That's what I'm doing, the colours that are there. So it's all good stuff, really, you know. Don't want that to be too level, so I'm going up into that and softening that. There we are. And then I'm painting back down because that'll be dark shortly. Okay, now we've got some nice yellow greens now. Nice sort of bright yellow greens, sort of there, and there is I did see another nice yellow green there. There we are, nice sort of spiky little areas, and that then cuts back into that. Another little brilliant green there. That's nice. Now I'm using Prussian blue with cadmium yellow to pick up the bluey dark tones of another little shrub that stands there, but also of the shadow areas on these shrubs. There is another shadow area there, and another shadow area there. See the way I'm dotting and dashing these colours to try and get the illusion of a bank that lays down at the water's edge, that's quite jagged, quite rough, and this is a nice colour for that distant shrub and bush that's standing right on the edge there. There we are. That's also a nice colour for that. That sits back quite nicely like that, and that will blend also with that. That's good. Just going to need my damp brush again, just to lift off again just before it completely dries down that edge of that building there. I'm not too concerned with that. May even put a little shrub there. That's it. And then I'm going to have a light passage now, and it looks a bit on the bluey side, so I'm going to paint it as such, because I've got a feeling it's like a retaining wall to stop the water encroaching on the building. And then in the foreground here, I'm going in with lemon yellow now, because I want this yellow to really sing. Go a little bit more lemon with that, bringing some of the colour in but not all of it. See the way some of it will be in there, and this same lemon yellow is going to be used for that area too, because there is got a nice yellow feel. I'm trying to get that lovely glow, and if you can achieve that, then every possibility that you'll get the whole thing to work particularly well. There's another yellowy glow there, which I'd like, because that denotes that there is a light coming across the to the building. And then we can go dark again, cadmium, with Windsor blue, and Prussian blue, sorry, and I'm putting a little bit of red in there. Can use any red, but I used alizarin. There we go. Bit more blue, bit more cadmium, and a bit more red, because that will really sing the dark tones. And then that comes like that. Now I'm adding a little bit of brown, but that should use light red. Use that, no need use brown all the time. It's a real dark passage, that, and it comes up into that tree in places. 1, 2 little touches where that tree overhangs on the bank. And then of course a bit more red. Let's just put a bit more of the light red, there you go, along the bank. That really gives a nice warm shadow feel, and then we can paint back in to show little areas within the water, just where it's sort of encroaching like that. Good. Now all we've got to do is to look at the large tree on the right. And for the large tree on the right, I'm going to use Prussian blue with light red. And there's plenty of light red in there, because I want that glow. Although it's green, I want that glow. And I'm using the point of the brush to indicate the overhanging branches like that. And there are gaps which I'm going to leave, because it gets a bit dense there. That's it. And then a little bit uneven there, and then it sort of sprays out like that. And I'm using this semi-dry brush work. The brush has gone dry, so I'm going to try and use that to the best of my ability within that area. So that gives it that sort of nice local feel. And 1 or 2 gaps now, and a bit more red with the blue. It just makes it go darker. makes the whole thing much darker. And then of course we have another overhanging part of those branches, and notice how the underpainting of green, yellow, actually enhances the whole thing. A bit more water, a bit more blue, because that will give us added depth to the whole thing. It's all a matter of getting that light. That's all I'm doing. I'm not trying to depict anything other than light on this subject. Bit more red now, light red within that. So we've got warms and cool colours. Once it dries, it all marries together. There we are. That is the tree on the right hand side. Now I just want to lift off a little colour, just very dry brush. I want to lift off a bit of colour on that roof there, because I want that to be pretty much straight. I'm doing that with the brush, really dry brush, like that. And I also need to lift off the side of that chimney, like that. Well, pretty good to me. That now needs to go dry before we paint the building. Now I'm going to deploy the smaller mop, number 4 Daler-Rowney, that points. It's only a synthetic brush. The other one I used was a mix, but this is purely synthetic. And now I'm going to highlight certain areas around the building to try and intensify the strength. So I'm using Prussian blue with light red. Again, not even putting cadmium with that at this stage, because there's a shrub that's quite dark there. That's it. And there's an area of dark there. And along the water edge there. And then we lift up some little tufts of grasses there. Oh, that can lift up as well, because all of this, we've got shadow sweeping across from that large tree. So I'm just simply using these little touches to enhance the bank before I shadow up, really. And then of course there's another area there, and as the brush loses paint, get some lovely effects, lovely textures that you can't get any other way in many ways. So I haven't loaded the brush in any particular way, it's just formed like that, really. And this same colour then can be used in varying parts underneath the tree to pick up a sense that that's in shadow, that's also in shadow there. And along the bank there's some reeds there that stand in the water, and then it goes light again before we go into a nice dark passage there. There we go. And then a little bit more moisture on the brush, because I want the brush to point a little bit more to pick up a feel of reeds standing up in that bottom right hand corner, and some there, just to balance the whole thing. There we go. Now taking off, just painting, just light, adding a lot more water now, because I want to create some shadow in the distance there, albeit it's fairly dark. Bit of shadow there in that lower part. That's going to be quite dark. Oh yes, a bit of shadow here just before it dries, still a little bit on the damp side, not drying particularly fast here in the studio. Quite a cold day outside, so not drying particularly fast. And then just gonna sweep that down, just a different strata of tree on that right hand side. There we go. Just helps to block that in. Oh, and I'm going to block this in as well, like that. There we are. That's just all, you know, what is it? Don't know. Shadow work of some sort. Yep. And a little bit of light shadow work along the edge there. 1, 2 little touches here. Now this is where you've got to watch that you don't get rid of the real light feel. There we are. Perfect. I like the look of that softness there. Let's just add a bit more blue into that. That's better. Lovely. Now I'm looking at the building. Well, we've got red tiles on the roof, so that remains that nice warm light red colour, pretty much on its own. Then painting down the left hand side of the chimneys, but I'm leaving the right hand side unpainted, and that then heads down like that and across like that. Try not to get any bleed of paint in. And this chimney, although I'm going to get bleed into that, is also light, but that's less intense. I want all the intensity on that. Then the frontage, I'm going to use more or less raw sienna, because although it is red, it's got a little bit of light red in there, but it's got a glow to it, which you can only get if you... I'm painting around the windows, if you notice, and the doors, and that's the frontage of that as well, and that chimney. I tell you what, we're not far off, apart from the water. And while that is drying, I'm going to paint the water in. And the way we do this, I'm using Prussian blue and raw sienna, and this time that's my favourite mix for the green of the water, more blue than raw sienna, but this time I'm adding some light red in there because I want the red to help warm up that water wash. Right, only very weak, so let's see what we've got. To start with, we have the bank. So that just freely runs like that. So you've got to remember that the bank is reflecting in the water. And in many ways, it's lighter than... Reflections are either lighter or darker than the water itself. That's the theory of it all. And I'm doing the same there. And the reflection is directly under. So, and I'm trying to paint across the paper so that I can get some rippling effects on the outsides. Going around that bank area. That's that, like that. And then we've got the ripples that come out from the overhanging tree there. That's it. Then we have the bank area this side too. And the ripples that come out from that. Then we clean the brush, take off a little bit of paint, not too much. I need a bit of that colour to come through, but I want to show the rippling of the water in the foreground. Lovely. Now we go back in with something a little darker and a little more blue for the reflection of that dark tree, like that. And notice I'm not putting it in at the same colour as the tree itself, because if I did, it probably wouldn't look right. That's the greenery for the overhanging branches, and I'm getting a little bit of run from the bank colour, which I'm quite happy with. Just got the building there, and we just go around the building like that, and we pull in to some parts of that water will be sort of damp and other parts will be dry. So that's the thing that gives it that water feel. And just before that dries, I'm now picking up some light red with a touch of that yellow in, that blue in, not too much this time, because I want to pick up the feeling of light on the front of that building there, like that. And as that blends, that'll sort of go a bit soft, which is what I'm looking for. There we go, like that. So that's the building at that point. Now all I will need to do is to put in some shadow work, and I'm putting that in now rather than so really it's just Prussian blue and light red, for there is that gable end will be in shadow like that, and then we do have the windows will be lighter, or we will have a little bit of shadow under the overhang there, and then this I can then use to help to give me my foreground reflection that will be quite important to actually give that feeling of light. Notice how that helps an awful amount. A bit more blue now going in, because I want that to pick up. Oh, lovely. There you go. I always say to people, push the boundaries a little bit. You know, is it going to work? Well, we only know if we try. And I've never done that before, but at the end you'll have to tell me whether you think it works or whether it doesn't. Really, I'm just softening that because that's right. That's okay. Notice how I'm not panicking when I think something isn't quite right. One or two ripples running across the building like that. A little bit, not too much in the distance. There. Good. Now there's one little bit there that I'm not happy with, which is that area there. So I'm just going to just soften that through. Get rid of all that lovely colour there and just blend that away into the distance. Perfect. I like that, and that just goes along, and we can just see the bank as it goes around the corner, but I don't want to show too much of that. That's got to be distance. Right, now we've got the shadow work. Now with the shadows I'm going to push the boundaries again. I'm using Prussian blue and alizarin crimson, and I'm going to use a bit more alizarin than I've got in there. There we go. Don't want it too dark. Let's see how we go. I'm going in to the major part of here, and I will need the maul stick just to support the brush, because I want to get these chimneys right. Now that's the shadow down the chimney there and the gable end, like that, because this gable end would be in shadow. That finishes like that. Yep, perfect. Bit more red required, I think. So that comes down like that, around that chimney, because there's a chimney there, and then another gable end to an outbuilding. That's the corner of that building. Then we've got another gable end that finishes somewhere there. There we go. And we're finally showing up that tall chimney that probably you didn't know was there, but it is. Go. And then we can run across the back like that, over like that. Then this is also in shadow there. Light coming, so just remember when you paint these shadows in, what you're leaving may be in sunlight. Yeah, lovely. Then we have a overhang shadow from the roof there, and we have down the right hand side the reveal of the window that's in shadow. Like that. One or two little touches of shadow on the corner of that building from a shrub that stands there. I've just made that up, but I think it highlights the look of the building. And then the shadow area from that chimney, which will run up the roof a tad. There we go. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Just clean that off like that. Then we do have some trunk work and branches in that area there. Then we have a shadow there that supports that there, gives a nice punch to that. Then where else do we want to punch? Oh, there. Oh, down the overhang of that roof line and that roof line there. And then this, we then cast a shadow onto the wall. And then there's more shadow there, little bits of shadow there, touches of shadow there. Brilliant. So that's our building in shadow. Right, now we've got to watch where we put the shadow, weakening the shadow, adding a little bit more red so it's not quite as strong. And I'm going to put that shadow there like that. It does look very dark, but it will dry up, I can assure you. It dries considerably lighter, and we're creating more tones within that area too. See the way I'm doing that? And some within this glint of light that I've saved on that right hand corner, and the same will happen here on that area. And this colour then is going to be used shortly to go into the water. So we're going there, we've got an area there that's got this colour, and that area there that's also has this colour. just pulling in that right hand side. Just get that level, that's good. Okay, now that shadow is running across there like that from that large tree, so that's shading a lot of that bank area, and this is what's going to produce the effect of shadow and light. So that's casting across that water. Brilliant. While we have this shadow, I do need to put some in down that back edge there and on the overhang of that. Don't want too much in the way of texture there, but it just needed a bit more depth of colour at that point. Right, that's fine, I'll blend that shortly. And also within the water. Now this is going to be interesting because I'm going to use this colour within the water area. And to pull in that greenery. Like that. And along the bank. Darkening that. And I'm going to darken that bank too. See, I'm balancing the tone values as I go. Now I'm wiggening the colour and pulling that in like that in a soft sort of manner to soften that, and then I'm drawing across, so I'm dragging the paint that's already there. I'm not actually applying paint, but I'm dragging the paint that's already there. So I'm playing the warm against the cool colours. Got the warm of the building, the warm colours within. There we are. And all of a sudden the bank joins in, just a little bit along that bank there, just to denote where that bank is. And a bit more alizarin. Here we go. I like the idea of this, don't know why. Look at that. See those little alizarin touches just being pulled in on those right and left hand corners. Just some little touches there, just to add that little bit of warmth. Push the boundaries. Brilliant. Introduce one or two of those little reds. So I'm using these reds, this alizarin now, to highlight the certain areas of warmth that is so important when you look at these sort of subjects. Brilliant. We'll allow that to dry. Well, I'm just stroking in some little touches of blue now, right the Prussian blue, and just one or two little ripples, but not doing too much to this. Got to use a bit of restraint using the point of the brush, just rippling in places. Heavy ripple there, so let's try and remove that. That's it. Little ripples there, little touches there. Look at that. A little bit of red here and there. And I think it's time to allow that to dry, and then we'll take the surround away, see what we've got. just before I do that, I really feel I need a little bit more colour onto the roof of the building. So I'm using light red with a touch of alizarin. Now there's a change, albeit very light, and I'm dropping that in on the roof. Got to remember that other colour will shine through, like that, and down that chimney area there. That's it. That's pretty much come up into that chimney there. There we are. That goes down into there, and I'm putting some on the back edge of that chimney there, like that. That roof is going to take some, although be a little bit lighter. Brush running out of paint, so that's working particularly well. There we are. Then I'm going to put in a little bit of this as a rippling effect onto the building reflection, like that. There we are. Then we just soften the outside with a damp brush. So we blur that a little, as it would on the water's edge. There you go then. That, I think, is pretty much there, apart from taking the surround away. Well, I've honed in just a little closer just to show you the finishing touches. And for these, I'm using light red with Prussian blue. So it'll give me a sort of a reddy greeny colour. And these need to be put, just before I sign it, we've got to just sharpen up some little edges with this dark colour along the bank, just so as we can see where the bank starts and finishes, like that. Some little touches there, which you may not be able to see because they've got a little bit of shadow. And oh yes, some darker areas here, just to enhance that back edge there, like that. Really is important when you look at your subjects to go back and touch in some places, just to enhance certain edges that and I always recommend a warm tone, not a don't too much this side. I do think 2 little touches there, not too much, not as much as the other side. Now the surround is away, you begin to see where you can put in these final little touches that they do make a big difference. You know, the overhang of that roof there. Remember, I went in with my shadow in a couple of extra places just to enhance that roof line. I'm putting a dark chimney on for no other reason than because I've overpainted it. So why not go dark? You know, no need to not dark underneath there, that's it. And dark down on that window at the top. There, and there. That's a door actually. That's the top of that window, and we've got that lovely shadow there. and we're enhancing that too. Yeah, it's all very impressionist. Just trying to keep a steady edge down there. I don't want to lose that light. There we go. That's looking good. Let's be a little bit darker there as we come through. That's going to be darker there. Perfect. That's the shadow. One or two little darker touches there. It's all about the building and the light on the building. And now it's dry, I think we can begin to see the effect that we actually have. I'll tell you one thing that does need a bit of depth. We need to have some sort of dark area from a shrub or something in the background there, because that will enhance that feeling of light. There we are. Yep, that does it. Let's just go up a little bit, show just a little bit more there. There we go. That's good. That's just held that. Don't want to lose too much of that, but let's just spike that out like that. There we are. So that pulls the eye towards the building with that little bit of spiky area in that position. Well, we must be pretty much there, really. Can't really see too much more. Birds in the sky. Why not? Don't want to put the birds. Where do we put the birds? Let's just all right, okay, let's not. Don't know. When you decide you don't know where to put birds, sometimes it's best not to put them in at all. But do feel it needs something. And I've elected to put some birds just there, there, and we will have another one. Where do we have the other one? There. 3 birds floating around in the distance. Sign up time. And I'm going to sign in the bottom right hand corner in the paint that I've used, as I always do, as you know, and just my normal brush signature, which is not particularly elegant, but I think that it actually depicts that it's me who's painted it, and that's most important to all of you as you progress with your artwork. Please sign all. I hope you've enjoyed watching me paint this view of the cottage on the river steeping at Wainfleet St Mary's. I visited there during the summer and only just got round to painting this lovely little scene where that cottage again is glowing in sunlight. If you did enjoy that, get those brushes out, start painting something similar, using techniques that that I've used there. Not all of them, I've used a lot of techniques purely as a demonstration, but get those brushes out. Thank you for watching my YouTube channel, and we'll see you all again very, very soon. Take care and happy painting.